How wonderful is it to be over in the Ivtech Media studio? Not sure whether I was asked or bullied or persuaded, but it is a real pleasure to be over here, and I guess it's only fair that I take my turn. So I'm going to do a couple of songs, and I'm going to begin with a song from 1962 by Solomon Burke called Cry to Me. And I picked it up from the film Dirty Dancing that I think was in the late 80s or early 90s. Okay. When your baby leaves you all alone and nobody calls you on the phone, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, cry to me. When you're waiting in your lonely room and there's nothing but the smell of her perfume, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, cry to me. Whoa, nothing can be sadder than a glass of wine alone. Loneliness and loneliness is a waste of time, yeah. You don't ever have to be alone. Come on, take my hand, baby, won't you walk with me? When you're waiting for a voice to come in the night, but there's no one, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, cry to me. Whoa, nothing can be sadder than a glass of wine alone. Loneliness and loneliness is a waste of time, yeah. You don't ever have to be alone. Come on, take my hand, baby, won't you walk with me? Come on, take my hand, baby, won't you walk with me? Thank you very much. Woo, right. The next song that I'm going to do is an old favourite of mine. Let me just get rid of the capo so I can get told off for my own criticisms. Yeah, the next song, I picked it up from a Johnny Cash album, one of his American recordings. I believe the albums he made before he died. And it's a song called I Hung My Head. And it's actually written by Sting of The Police. Sounds like a Johnny Cash song to me, which is kind of what I tuned into, although I do like The Police. Yeah, so it's called I Hung My Head. Here we go. Early one morning, with time to kill, I borrowed Jeb's rifle, sat on a hill. I saw a lone rider crossing the plain. I drew a bead on him to practice my aim. My brother's rifle went off in my hand. A shot rang out across the land. The horse, it kept running, the rider was dead. I hung my head, hung my head. I hung my head, hung my head. I took off running to wake from the dream. My brother's rifle went into the sheen. I kept on running into the Southlands. That's where they found me, my head in my hands. The sheriff, he asked me, why had I run? And then it came to me, just what I had done. All for no reason, just one piece of lead. I hung my head, hung my head. There in the courtroom, the whole town was there. I see the judge high up in his chair. Explain to the courtroom what went through your mind. We'll ask the jury what verdict they find. I felt the power of death over life. I orphaned his children and I widowed his wife. I begged the forgiveness and I wished I was dead. I hung my head, hung my head. Early one morning, with time to kill, I see the gallows high up on a hill. Out in the distance, a trick of the brain. I see a lone rider crossing the plain, and he'd come to fetch me to see what they'd done. We'll ride together till kingdom come. I pray for God's mercy, 'cause soon I'll be dead. I hung my head, hung my head. I hung my head, hung my head. Thank you very much. Whew. Thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Just a delight to come over to IveTech Media. And I think it should be said what a fantastic job Mr. John Ive does, providing a fantastic... I was going to use the word service. It's wrong to call it a service, but it's a fantastic place over here. And I know everybody else appreciates it just as much as I do. Thank you, John.